Session is now called to order. Please rise for the singing of the national anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, buyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka masisingil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong baghang, may nilang ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidinig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng warangit mong sinta, ay langit sa dilim mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga apit, at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. Lord, make us instruments of change through laws that grant our people what they want in a way which distills their wisdom. Where there has been decades of conflict, help us craft an instrument of peace based on justice and not on financial dependence. When love between two people has gone sour, let us set the rules of disengagement that is fast, friendly, and fair. When there is hunger, bless us as we prepare a menu of programs that will feed both the mind and body of our young, and please help provide for our tillers and our fishers to deliver us our daily meal. When cars and commerce barely move, show us how we can make more trains run on time as we lay more tracks in front of them ahead of schedule. When there is ignorance and fake news, make us beacons of enlightenment through speech that adds and not subtracts from the sum of human knowledge. When crimes still abound, grant us the resources to send more policemen on the streets so that when they patrol at night, a grateful people, secure in their homes, will say, "There, by the grace of the taxes we pay, they go." And because all of these require money, ask from those who we owe, forgive us our debts, and lead us not to the temptation of maxing out our national credit. Amen. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we call the roll of members. So move.
Secretary General.
Roll call of members. Honorable Representatives Abaya, Abayon, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg, Asharon, Akop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adiong, Adbincula, Agaraw, Agabaw, Aglipay Villar, Albano, Alcala, Alejano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Andaya, Angara Castillo, Antonino, Antonio, Aquino Magsaysay, Aragones, Arbizon, Arcillas, Arenas, Atienza, Aumentado, Bag-aw, Bagatsing, Bagilat, Banal, Barbers, Barsaga, Batawil, Batocabe, Bautista Bandigan, Belaro, Belmonte Feliciano, Belmonte Jose Christopher, Belmonte Ricardo, Benitez, Bernos, Bertiz, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo Anthony, Bravo Maria Vida, Brosas, Bulot Begtang, Cagas, Kalalang, Calderon, Calixto Rubiano, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cari, Casilao, Castelo, Castro Prans, Castro Pred, Catamco, Cayetano, Celeste, Serapica, Ceriles, Chavez, Chipeco, Coanco, Colliantes, Cortés, Cortuna, Cosalan, Crisólogo, Cuba, Cuaresma, Cueva, Dalipe, Datol, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, De Vera, Defensor, Del Mar, Del Rosario, Del Oso Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Muhammad, Duabit, Durano, D, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Eusebio, Ebardone, Fariñas, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Periol, Florendo, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Fuentebella, Garbin Garcia Gwendolyn, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Albano, Garin Oscar, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gachalian, Heron, Go Ana Cristina, Go Mark, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Alexandria, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Fernando, Goriseta, Gullias, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hopper, Halos Hos, Javier, Ko, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lagman, Lanete, Laugan, Lasatin, Liachon, Lee, Lim Khai Shong, Lobregat, Lopez Benhar, Lopez Carlo, Lopez Manuel, Loyola, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Manalo, Mangawang, Mangudadato Suharto, Mangudadato Sahid, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariño, Marquez, Martinez, Matugas, Meliana, Mending, Mendoza, Mercado, Mirasol, Montoro, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Carlo, Nolasco, Núñez Malañaon, Oaminal, Ocampo, Olivares Eric, Ong Edwin, Ong Henry, Ortega Pablo, Ortega Bininola, Pacquiao, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panganiban, Panotes, Papandayan, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Primicia Sagabas, Kimbo, Radaza, Ramirez Sato, Ramos, Relampagos, Rebilla, Roa Puno, Robes, Rocamora, Rodriguez Isidro, Rodriguez Maximo, Roman, Romero, Romualdez, Romualdo, Roque, Sakdalan, sa Garbaria, sa Hali, Salceda, sa Limbangon, Salo, Salon, Sambar, Sandoval, Sankopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento Cesar, Sarmiento Edgar Mary, Sabeliano, Sema, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez, C. Alvarado, Tambunting, Tan Angelina, Tan Milagrosa, Tan Cherny, Tejada, Tebes, Kiangco, Ting, Tinio, Tolentino, Treñas, Tugna, Tupas, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Unico, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Uy Barreta, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velarde, Velasco, Velasco Catera, Veloso, Vergara, Villafuerte, Villanueva, Villarraza Suarez, Villarica, Villarin, Biolago, Yap Arthur, Yap Melesio, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Ronaldo, Zarate Zubiri. Mr. Speaker, the roll call shows that 198 members responded to the call.
With 198 members responding to the call, the chair declares a quorum. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve Journal number 68, dated February 27, 2018. So move, Mr. Speaker.
No objection. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we defer reference of business. So move.
No objection. The motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, before we go on, we'd like to recognize, acknowledge some of the guests in the gallery. The guests of the Honorable Jericho Nograles, Barangay Captains Teofilo Binoo, Rogelio Nocom, Franklin Librado, Roderico Lubit, Jose Gamolo, Cristito Lazaro, Antonio Tinasas, Ronaldo Trajera, Bendor Calamba, Nestor Ogio, and Kagawad Alan Linao.
Your presence is noted. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we take up business for the day. I move that we take up for consideration on second reading. I move that we take up House Bill number 7179 under Committee Report 607 from the Committee on Justice, and we will instruct the Secretary General to read the title of the bill. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Objection, motion is carried. Secretary General.
House Bill number 7179, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Maylin Ting.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Gloria Macapagal Arroyo of the 2nd District of Pampanga to deliver her sponsorship speech. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Arroyo is recognized. Madam, please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, in behalf of Congressman Lasatin, who is the Congressman of the 1st District of Pampanga, and Chairman of the Committee on Justice, Congressman Umali, I would like to ask our fellow congressmen to pass this bill granting Filipino citizenship to Maylin Ting. She's an American, but she grew up in the Philippines from childhood because her parents put up a very important corporation in the 1st District of Pampanga, the district of Congressman Lasatin, TIPCO, a very, very long time ago in the 1970s. She grew up here, she studied here, she inherited the management of the company, and having grown up in the Philippines, she wants to become a Filipino citizen. I wish there were a way for people who grew up in the Philippines to become Filipino citizens without having to go through a law. I know of many foreigners who grew up in the Philippines then had to leave the country sadly because they were not granted Filipino citizenship. I think we should amend our immigration laws to provide for a way for foreigners who grew up in the Philippines to become Filipinos. But until that happens, we will have to go through the legislative process. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, I hope that we can grant Filipino citizenship to Maylin Ting. Thank you.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of interpellation.
There's a motion to open the period of interpellation. No objection. Motion is granted. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Edsa Lagman from the 1st District of Albay for his interpellation. So move.
Representative Lagman is recognized. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, there are actually 3 bills granting by congressional grant citizenship to certain foreigners. These are House Bill number 7179, House Bill number 7180, and House Bill number 7206. Before we proceed in considering these bills on second reading, this representation would like to be given more time to access the legislative records of these 3 bills so that I can ask policy questions again with respect to Congress granting citizenship to foreigners instead of these foreigners going through Republic Act 9139, which is the acquisition of Philippine citizenship by administrative naturalization. I therefore move, Mr. Speaker, to suspend further consideration of this bill and the 2 other bills. I am not per se against the bill, but again, I would like to ask from the Committee on Justice certain policy questions.
Thank you very much. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, we note the manifestation of the gentleman from the 1st District of Albay, and we were listening intently when he interpellated the chairman of the Committee on Justice regarding the previous issue on grant of citizenship by legislative fiat. We are one with him in seeking a solution for a legislative format for the grant of Philippine citizenship to foreigners. But could we please plead for his indulgence in the case of these 3 bills which have already gone through the legislative mill to allow them to be processed while we together seek a legislative way for citizenship for foreign nationals.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished Deputy
Congressman
Majority
Lagman.
Leader, I am not asking for a long time to access the legislative records and other pertinent facts about these foreigners who are projected congressional grantees of citizenship. Maybe next week, it's only a few days, so that I could properly ask the necessary policy questions. In one of these bills, I am informed that the projected grantee is not even a resident of the Philippines. So I just would like to have some time. By next week, we can proceed with the consideration of these bills.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, one last appeal on behalf of our colleague and the beloved former President, Mike Cabalen, Madam Gloria, who has so graciously taken to the floor today to sponsor this measure. May I please plead with the gentleman from the 1st District of Albay, if this lady, the subject of this legislation, is not the person with deficiencies in her application, could we just please allow this particular piece of legislation to go through today on 2nd reading so that it will not be held up as we work for the crafting of a legislative process for granting of citizenship, Mr. Speaker?
Well, I would agree to the request of the distinguished Deputy Majority Leader, but only with respect to House Bill number 7179, which is sponsored no less by the former President of the Republic. But I would have to ask some policy questions just the same. But with respect to the 2 other bills, House Bill number 7180 and 7206, then we should hold that in abeyance until I am able to access the legislative records and pertinent facts about these projected grantees.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we thank the gentleman from the 1st District of Albay for giving us the chance to go through with House Bill 7179, and we will be true to our commitment to him to not take up the other 2 while he is still seeking a way for legislative grant of citizenship, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Congressman Lagman.
Yes.
Will you proceed with House Bill 7179?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Please proceed.
May we know what special attributes and special or extraordinary achievements has does Ting possess? So much so that she would be qualified for a congressional grant of citizenship without undergoing the acquisition of Philippine citizenship by administrative naturalization under Republic Act 9139.
To my knowledge, Mr. Speaker, Ms. Ting grew up in the Philippines. because her parents invested in a very important industry in our part of in our region, specifically in Mabalacat, Pampanga, which is the district of Congressman Dasatin. This was way back in the 1970s when we were not still having too many investments. And they put up a very important industry. This is the a paper factory, a very big paper factory that is located in Mabalacat. And in fact, this is I remember meeting her parents when they were new investors in the Philippines. And I remember that the one who introduced them to me was the publisher of an important newspaper. So the importance of this company is that it provided for the newspaper industry to be able to flourish because they provided a lot of the newsprints at that time. And this girl grew up in the Philippines. This is really her home. And now she has taken over the family business, and she loves the Philippines. So my experience with her is the same as my experience with at least 2 or 3 other foreigners who grew up in the Philippines and who contributed a lot to the economy of the Philippines. For instance, one of them is the son of Alan Miay named Edward Miay, who grew up in the Philippines, who inherited a lot of businesses in the Philippines, who was a Filipino in every sense except that he does not qualify with the jus sanguinis requirement. So after trying to apply administratively for Philippine citizenship, somehow or other, he couldn't qualify with some requirements. If I'm not mistaken, many of the others who complain, like even the Filipino Chinese and even the Indian Chinese who've been here for a long time, I understand one of the big problems is about the requirement of a continuous stay in the country. I'm not quite sure if that is the case, but many have complained that way. And Mr. Miay, about 2 years ago, sadly left the country and went back to France because he could not get Philippine citizenship. And I also have had another experience with a priest, a Chinese priest, who came from China and then became a priest. And in China there is no religion. He lived here for the longest time, and again, he also tried to comply administratively with the requirements of citizenship, and he was not able to do so. So he has had to leave the country, and he now lives in Australia. I've met many, many others, Mr. Speaker, and though this lady is from the district of Congressman Dasatin, I very gladly agreed to co-author her citizenship because I feel that we miss a lot of potential good citizens because of our very restrictive immigration and citizenship laws. So, not that she is a national hero, not that she is a captain of large industry, but the fact that she wants to be a Filipino. She's been a good citizen in every sense of the word, except for the legal documents. I don't think that we should require somebody to be so special and so heroic, except to know that they have been behaving like good citizens of the Philippines to be able to give them the legal rights to become citizens. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
What is the pleasure of
may we ask for a 1-minute recess?
Majority Leader?
1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, the Honorable Lagman has the floor. He is interpellating the sponsor of this measure. So the floor belongs to the Honorable Lagman, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, and I move that he be allowed to continue with his interpellation, which the good sponsor is answering.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I appeal to the majority floor leader. Just give us 1 minute to talk to the interpellator. Is there anything abnormal, irregular on that?
Mr. Speaker,
1 minute.
I have no objection to have this 1 minute suspension.
Mr. Speaker, I move then that we suspend for 1 minute.
Thank you.
1 minute suspension.
Ma'am, I have to be consistent.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move with the indulgence of the Honorable Atienza and the Honorable Gloria Macapagal Arroyo to recognize the Honorable Lito Atienza.
Thank you.
Congressman
Mr. Majority
Atienza
Floor
is
Leader.
recognized.
During the break, we had a short talk with the interpellator, the Honorable Congressman Lagman. And indeed, he has a good point on his arguments that Congress should be very, very prudent, very careful in exercising, granting Filipino citizenship to anyone. I agree with him. We agree with him. I believe that the greater majority of our membership agree with him. But upon request of many of us, since he has no genuine first-hand derogatory information on the person being given the honor of being called a Filipino, he has acceded to our request that we now pass judgment on this particular person that Honorable Chair, Congresswoman Arroyo is now sponsoring on the floor.
Majority
And
Leader.
we will join him in the same breath of raising the valid points that he has raised, to be very prudent in granting Filipino citizenship to anyone.
Thank you very much. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker, our parliamentary status is we are in consideration still of House Bill 7179. And with that, I move again for the recognition of the Honorable Gentleman from the 1st District of Albay, the Honorable Edsel Lagman.
Congressman Lagman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I confirm the statements of the Honorable Lito Atienza
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank
that
you.
I would relent in my interpellation, but the two other bills I will again rise to make policy questions. I am just being consistent, Mr. Speaker. The first bill last week, granting citizenship to an American, I stood up to ask clarificatory questions. And I said, when I was chairman of the Committee on Justice, I did not recommend the approval of any bill granting congressional citizenship to an alien. Now, just a note, Mr. Speaker.
Have you spoken to them already?
The fact that a foreigner grew up in the Philippines and her parents organized a paper industry corporation will not really qualify one to be granted Philippine citizenship because many foreigners would have the same qualifications. And I would like to suggest also that we could amend Republic Act 9139 to make it less stringent. But we should not make acquisition of citizenship one with facility, because citizenship is a sacrosanct attribute. With that note, Mr. Speaker, I would like also to say that this particular grantee, male and teen, is not even qualified under Republic Act 9139 to acquire Philippine citizenship by naturalization. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will not proceed anymore with my interpellation as I committed to the Honorable Atienza and to the Honorable former President of the Republic.
Thank you very much, Congressman
Mr.
Lagman.
Speaker,
Majority
thank
Leader.
you, Honorable Lagman.
Mr. Speaker, with no other of our colleagues who wish to interpellate the honorable sponsor, I move that we close the period of sponsorship and debate on House Bill 7179. So move, Mr. Speaker.
No objection, the motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being neither individual nor committee amendments, I move that we close the period of amendments on House Bill 7179. So move, Mr. Speaker.
No objection, the motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the approval on second reading of House Bill 7179. So move, Mr. Speaker.
No objection, the motion is carried. All those in favor, say aye. Those not in favor, say nay. The ayes have it, obviously.
House Bill 7179.
House Bill 7179 is hereby approved on second reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, before we move on, I'd like to acknowledge our guests in the gallery, the guests of the Honorable Ben Everdone of the Lone District of Eastern Samar, barangay officials and municipal employees headed by the Honorable Roger Eder, ABC Municipal President of Lawaan, and Honorable Darwin Cernal of Llorente.
Your presence is noted. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
We also have in the gallery the guests of the Honorable Michael Romero, representative of One Pacman Party List. They are Julius Tamayo, Jeffrey Shiocon, Wendell Billones, Eduardo Sumpay, Josephine Tamayo, Charlene Kate Pabular, Lady Gles Gonzalez.
Your presence is noted. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we take up unfinished business. I move that we take up for continuation of consideration of House Bill number 6973 under Committee Report 572, and may we request the Secretary General to read the title of the bill. So move.
No objection, the motion is carried. Secretary General.
House Bill number 6973, an act enhancing the effectiveness of the Metropolitan Manila Council in formulating policies, rules, regulations, and in enacting ordinances for Metro Manila, amending for the purpose of Public Act number 7924, entitled an act creating the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, defining its powers and functions, providing funds therefore and for other purposes.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Winston Castelo, the sponsor of the said bill, the chairman of the Metro Manila Development Committee. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Objection? Sponsors recognized. Congressman Costello, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. For consideration before this body is a very important piece of legislation. Much has been said about this legislation. As you all know, we are now experiencing tremendous traffic. The actual mandate of the Metro Manila Development Authority is not fully realized because there are some setbacks. So it has been inefficient lately. However, there is a way wherein we will be able to contain and realize the mandate of the MMDA, particularly problems on garbage, problems on traffic, problems on flooding. That is to empower the Metro Manila Council, composing of the Metro Manila mayors. There has been apprehension, Mr. Speaker, that the said bill would be treated as usurping the power of the local government units. I would want to assure you that there is nothing in the provision of the said bill that would undermine the power of the local government unit. In fact, there are a lot of technical working groups conducted, actually, wherein we invited the Mayor's League, the Vice Mayor's League, the NMYL, the Philippine Councilors League, and they interposed no objections to the same. So with that, Mr. Presiding Officer, I hope all of the representatives here present would soon realize the importance of this piece of legislation. So with that, I move for the approval of the measure, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the status of this bill is we are in the period of sponsorship and debate. I move that we open the period of interpolation.
It's a motion. No objection. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize to interpolate our sponsor, the Honorable Toby Tiangco from the Lone District of Navotas City. So move, Mr. Speaker.
No objection. The motion is carried. Representative Chanco is recognized. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, good afternoon. I would want to ask, Mr. Speaker, the honorable sponsor, if
Is the sponsor willing to be...
Willingly, Your Honor.
Okay. Go ahead, Congressman Chanco.
Mr. Speaker, Vice Mayor, Mr. Speaker, does this act give powers to the MMDA to enact ordinances?
No. In reality, strictly speaking, it would not, because the very function, the very beauty of the bill is for the Metro Manila Council to convene, and whatever resolutions, whatever ordinances as approved by the Metro Manila Council will also be reverted back to each local government units for their approval. In other words, the Metro Manila Council, composing of the Metro Manila mayors, will not have and enjoy these legislative powers that is vested only upon the local government units. There is no violation of the local government code. We realize and we respect the powers of the LGU, the Sangguniang Bayan particularly, to legislate laws.
Mr. Speaker, so the categorical answer of the honorable sponsor is that this does not give the MMDA powers to enact ordinances. Am I correct, Mr.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, this is where all the confusion comes in, Mr. Speaker. Because based on the copy of the bill that I have, it gives the MMDA powers to enact ordinances. Mr. Speaker, just to make sure that I am holding the same copy of the proposed bill with that of the honorable sponsor, may I request the honorable sponsor to read the title of House Bill 6973, Mr. Speaker.
The title of the bill would be as follows, Mr. Speaker. An act enhancing the effectiveness of the Metropolitan Manila Council in formulating policies, rules, regulations, and enacting ordinances for Metro Manila, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 7927, entitled an act creating the Metro Manila Development Authority, defining its powers and functions, providing funds, therefore, and for other purposes. Yes, Mr. Chairman, there is a word of enacting ordinances. We admit that, Mr. Chairman. However, no ordinances, no resolutions will be approved without, I repeat, without the concurrence of the Sanggunian. So if the good representative from Nabotas is fearful and concerned that it would be usurping the power of the Sanggunian, I assure him that there is no part of the proposed bill that would compromise the legislative powers of the Sanggunian or any LGUs in Metro Manila, sir. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the question was very simple. The answer was very simple. When I asked that the title be read, he was the one, the sponsor was the one who clearly said, enact ordinances for Metro Manila. When I asked Mr. Speaker, does this bill give power to enact ordinances? The honorable sponsor said no. When I asked him to read the title of the bill, he read it, enact ordinances for Metro Manila. Mr. Speaker, which is true, the answer or the title?
Well, we have to insist, Mr. Speaker, that the sole authority to approve the ordinances is vested on the LGUs. However, the Metro Manila Council composing of the Metro Manila Mayor is not precluded from introducing resolutions and ordinances. And it will not take effect. It will not take effect without the concurrence of the LGUs. That is why that is the problem right now, sir. Mr. Speaker, that is the problem right now. There are a lot of ordinances and resolutions adopted by the Metro Manila Council that has no effect in effect of a law. So yung mga, for example, one typical example here is the identification of bus terminals. Iba-iba po ang mga requirements, iba-iba po ang mga condition. Another shining example, which was a recent subject matter of our committee meeting, is the unified ticket system. For every municipality, for every city, there are different kinds of issuance of tickets. There is no uniformity. Hindi po synchronized. There is no harmony. So to each his own. That is why through the Metro Manila Council, it is hoped that these issues would be addressed. However, whatever is approved there in the Metro Manila Council will always be devolved, or the Sanggunian will always be consulted. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very sorry, but I cannot leave this question, and I will have to keep on asking it because the answer is different from the title. Mr. Speaker, I will ask again. Which is the real... Alin ba dito yung totoo? Kanina ho, tatagalogin ko naman kasi doon sa English, hindi ho kami nagkaintindihan eh. Nung sa English, tinanong ko, does it give MMDA the powers to enact ordinances? Ang sabi ho, no. But when they read the title, it clearly states enacting ordinances. So ngayon, tagalogin ko na lang ho. Ito ba ho ay binibigyan ang MMDA ng kapangyarihan na mag-enact ng ordinansa o hindi?
Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader, may request that we recognize the new sponsor of the bill.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, we have no objection and we move for the recognition of the Honorable Bayani Fernando.
Honorable Fernandez recognized to sponsor the bill. Please proceed and answer the question.
Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleague seemed to have misread the bill. It's not MMDA, but it's MMC. Metro Manila Council. It's different. We have to differentiate between the MMDA and the Metro Manila Council. And the Metro Manila Council is actually composed of basically all the local government units of Metro Manila. They're being represented by their mayor in that council. And more so, they are represented, the councils are represented by their Vice Mayor's League. The president of the Vice Mayor's League of Metro Manila is part of that council, and also the League of Councilors of Sangguniang members. The president for Metro Manila is also part of that council. So I don't think there is a conflict in that aspect. Thank
So,
you.
Mr. Speaker, I will ask the Honorable Bayani Fernando to be the one to read the title of the bill. Maybe when he reads it, it will be different. So that we will be clear whether we are giving the Metro Manila Council powers to enact ordinances. So may I request the Honorable Sponsor to read it so that maliwanag, are we giving powers or not? Sabi nila hindi. So we will request that the title be read just to make sure that I'm holding the same copy.
The title is an act enhancing the effectiveness of the Metropolitan Manila Council in formulating policies, rules, regulations, and in enacting ordinances for Metro Manila, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 7924, entitled An Act Creating the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, defining its powers and functions, providing funds therefore, and for other purposes. And in conjunction with this, also it may be good for us to refer to that law, the MMDA law, which created that Metro Manila Council, which in that law that passed this Congress, it says that the publication of that the Metro Manila, that the MMC actually is empowered to pass ordinances, policies, rules and regulations, and ordinances. That's very clear in the law. Unfortunately, some courts have actually changed in a way, there was some judicial legislation that happened, and the courts disregarded that, and they opined that MMDA or the Metro Manila Council have no right to pass ordinances. But in fact, it is mentioned in so many instances in that said law that the MMDA on certain functions, basically on things that are of metro-wide impact or metro-wide effect, actually given the law gave the Metro Manila Council that right on those particular things. Like, for example, on traffic. The law says that the MMDA, and actually it actually mandated that MMDA will have to put up a single ticketing for Metro Manila. Single ticketing for Metro Manila. And that includes formulation of policies, rules and regulations, and ordinances. And so that law even said particularly that that MMC right can actually has the right to impose fines and penalties, and it can actually confiscate licenses, and so many other instances when actually. But anyway, this act actually would actually give up all those, is giving up all those power given to the MMC by that 7924. It's giving it up, and that power now is given by this act to the local governments represented by their councils. So I don't see any thing that would impair or remove any on the power of the power of the local government.
Mr. Speaker, it seems so the honorable sponsor also read into the records the word enact ordinances for Metro Manila. When asked whether we are giving powers to the MMDA to enact ordinances, the answer is no. When asked to read the title, they read it and stated enacting ordinances. So, alin ba talaga?
Well, I have said earlier, Mr. Speaker, that is the MMC, not the MMDA. It's the MMC, Metro Manila Council. MMDA is just an instrument of that MMC.
Okay, I will rephrase it. So does this bill give powers to the MMC to enact ordinances?
Mr. Speaker, please, may I please repeat the question?
Does this bill, ito ba hong bill na to, ay binibigyan yung MMC, yung Metro Manila Council, ng kapangyarihan to enact ordinances? Kasi ang sabi niyo kanina, hindi MMDA, MMC. So binabago ko ang tanong, ito bang bill na ito ay binibigyan ang MMC ng kapangyarihan to enact ordinances?
Hindi po. Hindi po, lalabas na hindi. Sapagkat ang kapangyarihan ay binibigay na nga sa mga lokal na pamahalaan sa pamamagitan ng kanilang local councils. And local councils, they have the right to pass ordinances. Mga ano sila, di ba? Mayroon ano yan eh. They have that legislative power. Ginigive up na nga ng MMC that power. Binibigay na natin sa kanila para wala na lang question. But in fact, in the end, it will be to the benefit of that MMC. Because everybody, all the local governments are members of it anyway. They are part and parcel of it.
Mr. Speaker, ang sabi ho ng honorable sponsor, hindi ho binibigyan ng kapangyarihan yung MMC o yung Metro Manila Council na gumawa ng ordinansa. Ngunit sa title ho, an act enhancing the effectiveness of the Metro Manila Council in formulating policies, regulations, and enacting ordinances. So bakit magkaiba ho yung sagot doon sa titulo? Ang sinasabi nila, hindi binibigyan ng kapangyarihan. Pag sila nagbasa ng titulo, kahit basahin ko ho yung titulo, nakasulat, enact ordinances. So alin ba talaga ho yung totoo? Hindi ho tayo makakaalis dito sa issue na to. 16 minutes na ho tayo. Iba yung sagot sa tanong, iba naman yung sinasabi ng title. So alin ba talaga? Binibigyan ba o hindi? Alin ba ho tama? Yung sagot nila o yung titulo?
Majority Leader, we have a change of
Majority Floor Leader, may I ask
sponsor.
to amplify the statements of one of the authors?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize both of them so that they can defend the measure alternately.
Okay, the tag team of Castello and Fernando is hereby recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The title of the proposed bill would not spell everything, Mr. Chairman. So we do not have to be technical and strict about it. But if you will read the provision of the bill in one of the sections there, it is clearly spelled out that the power and or the power of the LGUs will always be respected, that there will be no ordinances and resolutions approved by the Metro Manila Council without the concurrence of the Sanggunian. Actually, this is the very purpose of this bill, Mr. Presiding Officer. In the IRR on the creation of the Metro Manila Development Authority, it is already spelled out that the MMDA could promulgate ordinances and resolutions. However, the experience of the several chairmen who headed the MMDA is wala po, nagagawa po ang Metro Manila Council at that time. So, we have to empower them, we have to mandate the lahat po ng mga ma-approve ng Metro Manila Council should always be devolved sa mga sanggunian for their action. Something na hindi po nagagawa before. Even during the time of BF Fernando, they have been ineffective, they have been slow. So kung nakikita po natin, kaya nga meron pong emergency power, hindi po talagang na-exercise ang function to the fullest ng Metro Manila Council. So this is the very purpose of the bill, Mr. Speaker, to empower them, to make them more effective. Because as it is, yung IRR that empowered the Metro Manila Council to promulgate ordinances and resolutions ay hindi po nagiging effective. Kulang pa. Kaya kung may mga traffic, kaya po hindi po synchronize ang mga batas, ang mga issuance ng mga ordinansa, lalo-lalo na po sa mga bus terminals, lalo-lalo na po dun po sa Unified Ticket System, yung mga no smoking ban, hindi po iba-iba po ang mga batas sapagkat kulang po ang poder ng MMDA at that time. So we are trying to cure that defect, Mr. Speaker, so that the function of the MMDA will be utilized, and in the hope that yung magnitude ng problem po ng traffic po dito, hopefully ay maayos na po natin ho dito. It is an impossible task. It is a difficult undertaking, but at least we tried our best by coming out with this piece of legislation that would redound to the interest and benefit of our constituents. It is our only hope. It is our only chance. Recently, the JICA issued a document wherein 3.5 billion of funds daily are lost because of lost productivity and lost opportunity. So ito po ang ating pong pag-asa na sana po mas malakas ang mga MMDA para na sa ganun po yung function po nito ay magiging kaakit-akit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Before we proceed, the Chair would like...
So I would like to reiterate and emphasize once more to our colleague in Navotas, no, we should not be technical and strict about the title, no? The title is just a title, and if you would read the provisions as contained in the bill, we will be realizing that we will not solely devolve functions dun po sa Metro Manila Council. We will still be respecting the functions, the power of the LGUs. In fact, when we deliberated this several times, Mr. Speaker, we took into consideration the Supreme Court jurisprudence of Bel Air versus MMDA. This has been brought up, so we skirted this issue. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Chair would like to make exception to the statement the title is just a title. No, the title controls the contents of the particular bill. So it is not the contents which explains the title, but the title which explains the contents. It's the other way around. So may we request that you rephrase that statement that completely is totally against the grain of legal logic.
May I just rephrase and restate, Mr. Speaker, that the title does not spell out everything.
It
So
should spell
for
out
us,
everything.
For us to
The
understand,
contents of
I
the
think,
bill cannot go beyond the title of the bill.
my only appeal, Mr. Chairman, is for us to appreciate the title. We should also read the provisions of the bill.
I
However,
agree.
we respect the opinion of the good speaker.
No, that is legal logic. That is not my opinion, honorable sponsor. But be that as it may, just to clarify the issue, why is the sponsor hesitant if he is confident that this will not affect the local government units in their autonomy to craft laws and ordinances? Why is not the sponsor amenable to changing the title?
So what is the trend of thought of the interpolator? Is he
his
batting
train of-
for the
No,
for the amendment
his train of thought-
of the title?
His train of
So
thought,
that
Mr.
we will-
Speaker, I'm taking up the cudgels for the plenary because both of you have been going back and forth on the same issue, reading the titles over and over again, coming up with different conclusions, but reading the same thing. So, let me ask, are you amenable, Mr. Sponsor, at the proper time, to amend the title of the bill to reflect the explanation which the Honorable Sponsor, Congressman Castello and Congressman Bayani Fernando, has been painstakingly explained to us? Are you willing to amend the title to finally put this issue to rest so we can move forward?
I have consulted my co-author and
bilis,
he has given his consent that in the right time we are amenable to have a minor revision on the title, Mr. Speaker.
Minor revision, meaning period, comma, a word.
Well, it is an acceptable amendment, we have to wait for the proposed amendment.
No, the
Mr.
committee
Speaker.
can issue a committee amendment. So if you are amenable to issue an amendment, what would the committee amendment be?
Well, we have to wait for the proposed
No, it is a
amendment.
committee
of
amendment,
the,
not his amendment. The committee's amendment.
So,
If you are amenable, Mr. Sponsor, then the committee, you being the sponsor of the committee, is willing to sponsor an amendment on your own, the committee on its own. So what would be the committee's proposed amendment to the title?
with that, Mr. Speaker, I have to consult with my co-author. If it is possible that we call for a 1-minute suspension so that I would be able to confer with my co-author with respect to the proposed amendments and the trend of thought of the Speaker.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank you
Speaker,
very-
before the 1-minute suspension, can I just reply? I don't have any objection. Can I just reply before the 1-minute
Okay,
suspension?
one last point before we
Okay.
suspend, and both parties please come up with a solution or we move on to the next bill. Okay, thank you very much. 1 minute from, go ahead, you're recognized.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I totally agree with you. That the title, we cannot use the reason that we cannot be technical or strict about the title because the title has to reflect the intent of the whole bill. So I totally agree with the Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, it is not the power to enact ordinances is not only contained in the title. In fact, it is contained in other sections of the bill. That's all, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, let's have a 1-minute suspension. Please, may you speak use of the time wisely.
Mr. Speaker,
Okay, before we suspend, Majority Leader.
before we suspend, we'd like to acknowledge the guests, more guests of some of our members. We'd like to acknowledge the guests of the Honorable Rolando Clarex Uy and the Honorable Max Rodriguez Jr. of the 1st and 2nd Districts of Cagayan de Oro City, respectively. They are Barangay Captains Marlo Tabak, Francisco Leahy, Lucilo Legaspi, Ernesto Edrote, Joel Perocho, Cecilio Dagasaan, Felipe Baang, Maricor Calizo, Jackie Lynn Mern, Dante Roa, Vivian Malingin, Nancy Aban, Eric Daferete, Annie Chris Gakang, and the Honorable Barangay Captain Rosemary Uy, who is the wife of Congressman Clarex Uy. and of course, the Kagawas from the 1st and 2nd districts of Cagayan de Oro City.
Your presence is noted. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
We also would like to acknowledge the guests of the Honorable Sabaniano Kanama of the Co-op NATCO party list. They are Rola Andal, Jana Mesiona, Zita Manawag, Charlene Salazar, Romeo Batilo, Socorro Canonigo, Lineth Belarmino, Annabel Saison, Socrates Manaug. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Your presence is noted. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Motion to suspend, Mr. Speaker.
Session is suspended.
We'll take your advice, pare.
Bobotohan ba yan ngayong
Mr. Chairman.
Session is
Mr.
resumed.
Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may recognize the sponsor, Congressman Bayari Fernando.
Yes.
And the interpellator, Congressman Toby Tiangco.
The parliamentary status is before we went on break, there was a agreement that the two parties would try to come up with a solution in amending the title of the bill. Take note, we are just merely on the title of the bill and not on any particular section. So with finality, to put this issue at rest, is the sponsor now amenable at this point in time to have an amendment at the proper time in limiting the powers of the MMC in enacting ordinances?
Yeah, I agree with you, the Honorable Speaker. We can take it up probably in the period of amendment.
Okay, so at this point in time, we are not in agreement that there will be any amendment as to the title.
I think we're just looking for the proper word for it.
Okay, so I'll take that as a no at this point in time. So we move on.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Congressman Chanco, we are now past the title of the
Yes,
bill.
Mr. Speaker.
Let us now proceed to the specific sections and contents of this particular House bill. Please proceed, Congressman Chanco.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Earlier, the honorable sponsor made a clarification that it was the MMC and not the MMDA. So may I request that the honorable sponsor, just to make sure that we're holding the same copy, may I request the honorable sponsor to read lines 1 to 8 of page 3 of House Bill 6973, Mr. Speaker.
1, 2, 8. Okay. Line 1. Supervision of the President of the Philippines. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority shall formulate rules and regulations and enact ordinances to address metro-wide problems by augmenting and harmonizing conflicting policies between and among the localities of Metropolitan Manila.
So, Mr. Speaker, it is clear that it is not only, the word enacting ordinances is not only in the title and does not refer only to MMC, but also MMDA, based on the own reading of the honorable sponsor of the bill. I think there is no argument there, unless the honorable sponsor will say that I heard it wrongly, Mr. Speaker.
You're right, Mr. Speaker. I think the comment is accurate. Enact ordinances actually is part of the process, because that whatever it is, that ordinance can only come from the Sanggunians who will approve the ordinances. So it's actually the Metro Manila Council is part of that, but the approval of which, the final approval of which, is by the Sanggunians, the 17 Sanggunians of Metro Manila.
Mr. Speaker, and will the honorable sponsor confirm that the word adopt and implement ordinance is present in line 10 of page 4?
Adopt and implement ordinances. Yeah, adopt and implement, Mr. Speaker, yes, that's right. Adopt and implement ordinances and other regulations that fall within its mandate upon the approval of the majority vote of the Council.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. So again, the word adopt and implement ordinances is not only in the title, but it is also in section 5 of the bill. And will the honorable sponsor also confirm that the word prescribe, formulate, and issue ordinances is present in section 6 of the bill, which is on line 13 and 14 of page 5, Mr. Speaker?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I think prescribe, formulate, and issue ordinances, no? is it will issue, the MMC will issue the ordinances as approved by the Sanggunianes. I see nothing wrong in that. It's actually consistent with the idea of this measure.
Mr. Speaker, may I ask the honorable sponsor, what is the, up to what area is the effectivity of a local ordinance?
Well, as you said, Mr. Speaker, local ordinance should be implementable in that locality wherever the law was made for the purpose.
So, does that mean, Mr. Speaker, honorable sponsor, that the sponsor agrees with me that an ordinance, for example, that is passed in Navotas can only be implemented in Navotas and cannot be implemented outside Navotas?
I agree with that, Mr. Speaker, 100%. The local government ordinance can only be implemented in that particular locality.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, if there is no, if the honorable sponsor agrees that the ordinance is only implementable in the political boundary where it has been approved, how will this bill implement Section I? If the proposed ordinance is approved, the Metro Manila Council shall ratify the approved ordinance by majority vote of all its voting members. And if it is approved, in other words, how will they implement the provision that if majority, if 9 out of 17 LGUs approve the ordinance, how will they implement it in the LGUs that did not approve if the honorable sponsor agrees that the ordinance is only applicable in the LGU where it is approved?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think it's no longer a local ordinance because it was approved by the collegial body. It is approved. It is a collective decision, not only of the local government, but all the local governments comprising Metro Manila. I don't see anything wrong with that. Because, as a matter of fact, these ordinances that we're talking about can only happen on things that would affect other communities. It's not limited to a particular local government. It's no longer a local ordinance. Once it's approved by the 17 local governments, I think there is a misconception on that aspect, which I think the MMDA law failed to define. What is really local autonomy? Local autonomy is only good for the particular interest of a locality. But where the interest extends to outside of its boundaries, it cannot unilaterally make any ordinance that would have any effect at all. So that's it. And even in the past, in the other part of this, and it said here, it will not transgress because this ordinance will only be within the mandate of the MMDA, within its mandate, as prescribed in 7924. So I think we have to recognize the value. We have recognized that voting carries with it responsibility. Voting is an authority, is an exercise of authority. So once you vote, there is a consequence to it. There is a responsibility that goes with it. So, halimbawa, dito sa atin, we enact ordinance, tax, probably, a tax. Ibig bang sabihin, lahat ng di bumoto sa tax is now exempted from paying the tax. Hindi naman pwede yun. It's like Congress of the Philippines. Once we vote on something, it is of national interest. Di ba meron tayo days for local bills? Di ba? But there are days na we only entertain things for the Filipino people, the whole Filipino nation, not for a particular district or a particular local. That's, I think, the idea of this thing, which actually for so long the mayors of Metro Manila composing the Metro Manila Commission, Metro Manila Council, have actually not exercised, or they have lost that, in the end they lost their belief. They think the Metro Manila Council is that ineffective, is because themselves have failed to recognize their responsibilities. So I think this one is will create something, that will oblige the local governments to at least toe the line for the interest of the bigger Metro Manila, not confined to their own constituency or their own local. Ngayon naman ni atin ang i-recognize 13 million Metro Manilans. Hindi nga na alam ng ibang tao kung hanggang saan ang boundary ng kanyang local government. At least magkaroon tayo ng isang boses sa pamamagitan nito. Hindi tayo pwedeng magkani-kanya habang panahon. Napakalaki ng ating responsibilidad sa 13 milyong Pilipino. Tulad na nga ng single ticketing system. Pumunta ka, 17 local government sa Metro Manila, kani-kanyang traffic laws. Hindi malaman kung ano susundin mo. Now, by this measure, at least for after 24 years, we will be able to come out with a unified, a single ticketing system for Metro Manila with one laws that everybody can understand, and it will be for the protection of everybody in this metropolis. So pamamagitan niyang pagkawala ng isang batas para diyan, nagkakaloko-loko ang lahat hanggang sa bandang huli. Kotong ang lumalabas sa ating mga lansangan. Hindi natin malaman kung saan tayo pupunta. Pagkat ang mga motorista, in their confusion, have to resort to only one thing, kotong. Iyan ang isang napapanatay. And this is borne out as I speak in this emotional, I think in 8 years of my stint with the MMDA, wala akong nakitang paraan kung hindi ito. Na talagang hapon nga in the meeting of the congressmen of Metro Manila, in the meeting yesterday, nasabi nga ng ating former speaker Belmonte na yung kakulangan ng kanilang ginawang MMDA law 24 years ago, inadmit niya yon, inaccept niya yon, na may kakulangan talaga. Kaya nga ito ngayon ang sagot sa kakulangan na yon. Mabigyan natin ng gustong pamantayan ang lahat sa pamamagitan nito. Kung if there's any better idea from anybody that can happen as soon, then let it out. Let us know. But in the meantime, that I have not heard anything in so many years to solve this, to remedy the situation, let us accept this one. Wala namang masama. Because with this act now, we will get involved all the councilors and vice mayors of Metro Manila. The mayors do not have time for the MMDA. We never had a meeting where the mayors have stayed for at least half an hour. They don't have the time for it. They're so engrossed with so many problems of their locale. Now at least with this, we will get all the councilors, 287 councilors of Metro Manila, of the 17 cities. If you count it, 287 councilors and 17 vice mayors now will be involved in creating policies for this metropolis. We need these policies. Itong nangyayari sa ating kaguluhan, in the absence of clear-cut, in the total, at some many instances, total absence of rules. And we cannot rely on this Congress to do all these things. Congress is also engrossed in so many things. So nobody is minding, nobody is taking up these problems so we can have solutions to them. So it affects even the character of every Metro Manilan in the absence of rules. We should know that the character of people starts with the laws. It's molded by the laws implemented by the state. And without any clear-cut, without any unified laws for Metro Manila, we will be fragmented as what we are now. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, earlier the honorable sponsor made an analogy. Ang sabi ho niya, dito sa Congress, pag pinagbotohan natin, majority pumayag, hindi naman pa pwedeng hindi kasama yung hindi pumayag. Totoo ho yun. Dahil tayo ho lahat ay inihalal as legislator, as congressmen. Yung mayor ho ng Metro Manila, inihalal yun as mayor ng Metro Manila. Hindi ho yun inihalal bilang legislator. So paano siya boboto doon sa MMC at yung iboboto niya ay magiging batas? Hindi naman siya ho inihalal bilang mambabatas. Siya ho ay inihalal bilang local chief executive. Kaya hindi ho talaga pwede na yung majority na pumayag na syudad, implement mo doon sa syudad na hindi pumayag. Ang epekto ho nun, Mr. Speaker, ay parang yung sinasabi na yung ordinansa ay ginawa mong effective outside your political boundary, Mr. Speaker. So, kanina ho, may binabanggit ho ang ating sponsor na kapangyarihan ho yan ng MMDA o MMC. Pwede ko ba hong malaman kung anong provision ho ng batas ang nagsasabi na may kapangyarihan ang MMDA o ang MMC na bumoto o gumawa ng ordinansa?
Mr. Speaker, I move...
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend consideration House Bill 6973.
Motion to suspend. No objection. The motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, in accordance with our rules governing inquiries in aid of legislation, I move that we refer the following House resolutions to the appropriate committees. House Resolution 1358 to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs. House Resolution 1360 to the Committee on Muslim Affairs. House Rules 1361 to the Committee on Muslim Affairs. House Rule 1362 to the Committee on Muslim Affairs. House Resolution 1363 to the Government on Government Enterprises and Privatization. House Resolution 1370 to the Committee on Agrarian Reform. House Resolution 1371 to the Committee on Agrarian Reform. House Resolution 1373 to the Committee on Agrarian Reform. House Resolution 1385 to the Committee on Energy. House Resolution 1682 to the Committee on Agriculture and Food. House Resolution 1683 to the Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability. House Resolution 1684 to the Committee on Public Order and Safety. House Resolution 1685 to the Committee on Tourism. House Resolution 1686 to the Committee on Agriculture and Food. House Resolution 1689 to the Committee on Agriculture and Food. House Resolution 1692 to the Committee on Poverty Alleviation, House Resolution 1693 to the Committees on Public Works and Highways and Housing and Urban Development, House Resolution 1694 to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs, House Resolution 1697 to the Committee on Health, House Resolution 1702 to the Committee on Agriculture and Food, House Resolution 1704 to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs, and House Resolution 1706 to the Committee on Natural Resources. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
There's a motion to refer the aforementioned resolutions to their respective committees. Hearing no objection, the motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for minute suspension. Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend session.
Session suspended. Nakabuelo ka. Nakabuelo ka. Buelong-buelo yung balat mo.
Mr. Speaker.
Pil na pil, ah. Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would recognize the Minority Leader, John Bertis. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
There's a motion to recognize Minority Leader, Congressman Bertis. No objection. Motion is carried. Congressman Bertis is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Majority Leader. Good evening. Mr. Speaker, on February 20, we elected Honorable Representative Seriaco Calalang of Party List Kabayan as member of the Special Committee on Basis Conversions on the part of the minority. With leave of the House, I move that we reconsider the election of Representative Calalang to the Special Committee on Basis Conversion.
Majority Leader.
Okay. And Mr. Speaker, I move that we elect Representative Calalang to the Special Committee on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Is the Majority Leader...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move for a minute suspension.
Session suspended. Huh? Wala pa. I-adapt mo kung type mo. I-adapt. O nga, hindi. Alam ko nga. I-adapt mo muna. I-adapt mo sa kanya. In turn it to a motion. Then I will... Dalawang motion ba yun? Isa lang? O isa-isa. Ulitin mo isa-isa. Sa adapt niya. Session resumed. Can you please clarify or restate the motion, Congressman Bertis, one by one, please?
My apology, Mr. Speaker. I will repeat.
The first one.
On February 20, we elected Representative Seriaco Calalang of the Party List Kabayan as member of the Special Committee on Basis Conversions on the part of the minority. With leave of the House, I move, Mr. Speaker, that we reconsider the elections of Representative Calalang to the Special Committee on Basis Conversion. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader, does the Majority Leader adopt the motion of the Honorable Minority Leader?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we have no objection.
And can you turn that into a motion, please?
We join the Minority Leader for the election of the consideration of the Minority Leader. So moved.
No objection to the motion. Motion is carried. The next.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much, Majority Leader. Mr. Speaker, I move that we elect Representative Calalang to the Special Committee on Peace, Reconciliations, and Unity. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, we have no objection and we join the Minority Leader for the election.
and adopting the same motion.
And adopting the same, Mr. Speaker. So
No objection, motion is carried.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend session.
Session suspended.
Hindi sila magkasunod sa title, tapos tira. March 5 next Monday? Diyan lang po. Diyan lang po sa... Mr. Speaker.
Session resumed. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we now proceed with the reference of business and request the Secretary General be directed to read the titles of bills and resolutions on first reading as well as communications and committee reports. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
no objection, the motion is carried. Secretary General,
Reference of business, bills on first reading, House Bill 7231, introducing a system of to incentivize tourist purchase to the refund of VAT. Representative Romero.
Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 7232, prescribing uniform guidelines for the regulation and operation of tricycles. Representative Tambunting.
Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 7234, establishing resource centers. Representative Vargas.
Committee on Indigenous Cultural Communities, Indigenous Peoples,
House Bill 7235, mandating the provision of exclusive parking space for PWDs. Representative Vargas.
Committee on Social Services,
House Bill 7237, mandating a class on agriculture and fisheries. Representative Subiri.
Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 7238, providing for the establishment of an indigenous training center in Quezon, Bukidnon. Representative Subiri.
the Committee on Indigenous Cultural Communities and Indigenous Peoples,
House Bill 7239, regulating the distribution, use, recovery, collection, and disposal of plastic straws. Representative Subiri.
the Committee on Ecology,
House Bill 7244, providing for a national reverse migration policy. Representative Manalo.
the Committee on Government Reorganization and Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs,
House Bill 7245, providing for the revised Corporation Code of the Philippines. Representative Romualdo.
the Committee on Trade and Industry,
House Bill 7246, regulating the practice of agricultural profession. Representative Arthur Yap.
the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 7247, increasing the honorarium and Christmas bonus of barangay officials. Representative Sir Alvarado.
the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 7248, mandating all students in SUCs receiving scholarships, grants, or subsidy to render at least 1 year of return service. Representative C. Alvarado.
the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bills number 7249 to 7258, establishing multi-species marine hatcheries. Representative Uy Juliet.
to the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources,
House Bill 7259, establishing an aquatic research and experimental breeding station in Claveria, Misamis Oriental. Representative Uy Juliet.
to the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources,
House Bill 7261, establishing a district hospital in Lucban, Quezon, Representative Inverga.
Committee on Health,
House Bill 7262 is institutionalizing the implementation of the government internship program, Representative Dalipe.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 7263 declaring May 29th every year's annual National Community Savings Day, Representative Relampagos.
to the Committee on Poverty Alleviation,
Resolutions, House Solution 1723, honoring the memory of the late Napoleon Abueva, Representative Yap Arthur.
Committee on Rules,
House Solution 1724, urging the DBM to reallocate the amount of 1 billion from available savings to augment the allocation on the DOH and the SWD, Representative Vargas.
Committee on Appropriations,
House Solution 1725, urging President Rodrigo Duterte and the DOH to provide free and long-term medical services and treatment for more than 800,000 Filipino children, Representatives Brosas and De Jesus.
Committee on Health,
House Solution 1726, urging the Supreme Court to revisit the prospective ruling abandoning the Aguinaldo Doctrine, Representatives Tebes, Sagarbaria, and Lim Kay Chong.
Committee on Justice,
Communication, letter dated 20 February, Roger Edinho, Deputy Director, BSP.
Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries,
Committee reports, report number 629, House Bill number 7266.
Rules,
Report number 630 on House Bill number 7290.
Rules,
Report 631 on House Bill number 7285.
Rules,
Report number 632 on House Resolution 1741.
Committee on Rules,
Report number 633, 634, and 635 on House Bill number 7291, 7292, and 7293.
Rules,
Report number 636 on House Bill number 7295.
Rules,
Report number 637 on House Bill number 7296.
Committee on Rules,
Report number 638 on House Bill number 8, House Resolution 882.
Committee on Rules,
Report number 639, House Bill number 7302.
Committee on Rules,
Report number 640 on House Bill number 7303.
Committee on Rules. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend session.
session suspended. Abuelo ka na.
Mr. Speaker.
Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider bills under the calendar of business for Thursday and Friday. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to our rules, allow me to put forth an omnibus motion for the following consideration of the following House Bill. So House Bill 7176, House Bill 7178, House Bill 7184. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
There's an omnibus motion in the aforementioned bills. No objection. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider the respective explanatory notes as their sponsorship of the said measures. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
There's a motion. No objection. The motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate on the said local bills, I move that we terminate the period of interpolation. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
This is with regards to the three bills.
Yes,
There's
yes,
a
Mr.
motion to terminate the period of interpellation. Hearing no objection, the motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments and approve the committee amendments, if any, as contained in the respective committee reports of the aforementioned bills. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
It's an omnibus motion. Hearing no objection, the motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, there being no individual amendments, I move that we terminate the period of amendments. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
It's an omnibus motion. Hearing no objection, the motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading the following House bills. House Bill 7176, House Bill 7178, and House Bill 7184.
Although there's an omnibus motion for the votation of the aforementioned three bills, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor say nay. The ayes have it. The aforementioned three bills
Mr. Speaker.
are approved on second reading.
Mr. Speaker.
Congressman Atienza.
We're not even aware of these bills that we have approved. Ano po ba itong second reading na pinapurbahan ninyo?
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we approve the local House bill. House bill, this is our local bills act. Can we ask the Secretary General to read the three House bills?
Secretary General is requested.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
House Bill number 7176, an act separating the San Emmanuel National High School Annex in Barangay San Pablo, Tacurong City, Province of Sultan Kudarat from the San Emmanuel National High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as San Pablo National High School, appropriating funds therefore. House Bill 7178, an act establishing a national high school in Barangay Tambo, Parañaque City, to be known as Tambo National High School, appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 7184, an act establishing the forest boundary of the province of Tarlac.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I have no
Congressman
question.
Atienza.
We have no question as to the first two measures. But on the third measure, defining, establishing a new boundary for the province of Tarlac, this may necessitate a more thorough study and more thorough discussion. So we move for a reconsideration of the approval of this third measure while we approve. We concur with the action on the first two.
Majority
Hold
Leader.
on
Mr.
natin
Speaker.
ang konti.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend session.
Session suspended. Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, parliamentary status. There is a motion by the Senior Deputy Minority Leader for the reconsideration of the approval of the second reading on House Bill 7184, an act establishing the forest boundary of the province of Tarlac.
Yes. What saith the Majority Leader?
End of jokes. Objection, Mr. Speaker.
No objection, and can you please turn that to a motion?
I move that we reconsider the approval on second reading of House Bill 7184, an
There's-
act establishing the forest boundary of the province of Tarlac. So
There is a motion for reconsideration. No objection. Motion is carried. The approval of House Bill 7184 is hereby reconsidered. Majority Leader.
I move to, Mr. Speaker,
Majority
I move
Leader.
to reconsider the approval and determination of the House, or the period of amendment of House Bill 7184. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Ano yun? Okay. There's a motion. No objection. The motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adjourn session until Monday, March 5, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Monday,
So,
March 5, 4 o'clock.
Monday,
in the
March
afternoon.
5.
4 o'clock in the afternoon. Session,
3 weeks before your birthday, Mr. Speaker.
session adjourned. Thank you, Majority Leader.
Thank you, sir, for making it interesting.
Tapos na ako. Insightful to si Dison.